Hello everyone, and welcome back to Steins Gate Zero. I'm G, and we are with Suzuha at the moment, who just had some flashbacks to when Kagari left her in 1998, and is now hopping into the shower while Itaru goes and gets some ice cream. She had just about taken off her jacket so she could take that shower, but... Suzuha! Itaru had come back into the lab. Why is it?
I found this on the stairs.
Itaru showed her a keychain he was holding. It was a round anime character whose color had faded to a smoky green. It was an Upa.
You know whose this is?
Big Sis Mai's, probably? She leaned forward to take a closer look, and then felt like she was experiencing deja vu. I've seen this Upa somewhere before. She'd seen it before. She couldn't really remember when, but her internal alarms were going off. This keychain was extremely important. Upas were common enough that you could find them anywhere. Plastic edges had been worn down, the paint was faded and coming off in places. There was no dust, and there were no stains. Instead, it shone brightly as if its owner had put a lot of effort into taking good care of it. The chain was so old that part of it had snapped off. That was probably how it got dropped. Where was it? I've seen this before.
Did Maishi show it to you?
I don't know. She stared at the green Upa in Itaru's hands. And then in her mind, she heard a young girl scream. It's Mommy's Upa keychain. I'm giving it to you. Take good care of it, okay? She gasped. A feeling of indescribable terror raced down her spine. This can't be. Kagari's? That was when she'd last seen it. August 13th, 2036. The day she'd gone to the time machine. That's when she'd seen this Upa. It was older and more worn now, but the more she remembered that day, the more certain she became. This was the Upa that Mayuri had given to Kagari. She'd seen Kagari holding it and crying to herself many times before.
Kagari? You mean future Miss Mai's daughter?
Yeah.
Did you find her?
No, but she knows where I am.
What do you mean?
She's watching this lab. Satisfied, she headed off to take a shower. Ever since then, her careful efforts to defend the time machine had paid off, and she hadn't seen any sign of Kagari, but she'd never thought she'd be watching the lab. Now, it would have been obvious if I'd given it any thought. She's trying to stop us from reaching Steins Gate. She doesn't want this world to end. Which means she's watching not just me, but you too?
Me?
Well, I don't think your life is in danger. Probably. If you believe what we know about this, how world lines work, you live until at least 2036. She might come to interfere with your research, so we can't reach Steins Gate. A lot of bad things had been happening around Suzuha, Itaru, and Rintaro Okabe. There was some possibility that the final target was Itaru. From now on, just to be safe, lock the door whenever I'm not around.
Okay, got it.
Even if Uncle Okri and Mom or Big Sis Mayu are here, don't leave it open. It might not help much, but make sure you use the door chain, too.
You know, Okri and Maishi are one thing, but if I did that when I was alone with Maishi, don't you think that'd give her the wrong idea?
That's true.
If that makes her not like me, my whole family could be in trouble.
Suzuha groaned softly, unsure of what to do. If you'd only gotten to be our boyfriend sooner, there wouldn't be a problem.
Wait, we're back to that?
Just be careful, okay? Suzuha decided to keep the green Upa keychain. She softly ran her fingertips over it as she stared at it.
Hey, Suzuha, Kagari-tan's not related to Maishi, but she's still her daughter, right?
That's right.
somebody raised by Maishi grow up to be... I think that's to be the kind of person who'd assault someone? I just can't imagine it. What you've told me, I'd expect her to be a kind, easygoing, cute little girl.
I wish that was what happened. Yeah, I thought that was how she turned out too. And now she's probably...
What she'd seen at the radio building, she could tell. Kagari had definitely received professional combat training. It wasn't just the simple self-defense techniques that she'd learned from Suzuha when she was a child. As she'd grown up, she'd been taught the cold techniques of a killer. There was no way to know where she'd been, or what she'd been doing, ever since she'd gone missing in 1998. But there was no doubt in Suzuha's mind that she was trying to ruin her plans. Suzuha sighed as she took her shower. Since it was summer, she set the water temperature low. It was barely any hotter than tap water. As long as the water was pouring down on her, she could feel like all the bad memories were being washed away. She slapped her cheeks with both hands and turned off the water. The small tiled room suddenly became quiet. In the silence, she vigorously toweled off her hair. This building was never intended for anyone to live in. Not only was there very little room, there wasn't even a place to change. It was small and there were no windows, and the steam from the shower room built up, making it an unpleasant sauna in summer. Supposedly, Itaru and Okabe would sit naked next to the fans to get away from the heat and moisture. Of course, that was only when the girls, as well as Ruka Urishibara, weren't around. But Suzuha couldn't do that. There were those huge scars on her chest. If she was careless and Yuki saw them, she'd have a big problem. But she always forced herself to change within this small space. The second she left the shower room, she realized something was wrong. The lights were off in the part behind the curtain where the lab room was. She was sure she had left all the lab lights on when she'd gone to take a shower. She didn't remember turning them off. Still completely naked, she flung open the curtain. She dropped to the floor, ready to move. She could tell by the light from the shower room that there was no one else there. She didn't hear any breathing, and she didn't feel any other presence.
Did Dad come back?
And then when he'd left, he'd turn off the lights. No, that couldn't be right. She looked around the room and saw that things had been moved in a way that an amateur wouldn't be able to notice. Utaru's computer desk, the sofa area, the bookshelves, even the mini-kitchen. Someone had gone through them all. From the look of it, the same was probably true of the development room. Suzuha glanced all over the areas while she kept her guns. Where she kept her guns. Closest was the sofa that she used as a bed. She'd wanted to have one easily available if she was attacked while she slept, so she had cut out the back of one of the sofa cushions and hidden a suppressed semi-automatic pistol in it. It was just a .32 caliber for self-defense, so it wouldn't do much damage unless you had good aim, but it was small and relatively quiet, which made it the best choice for a place like this. Suzuha tensed all of her muscles, coiling like a spring, and slowly moved towards the sofa without making a sound. As she did, she tried to notice any changes in the surrounding area. There was a small sound in the development room. It was a tiny creaking of the floor, to which you'd usually pay no mind. That was more than enough for Suzuha. In an instant, she moved from quiet to action. She cleared the distance to the sofa in an instant and quickly drew her gun. She held it ready and slipped into the shadow of the refrigerator. From this position, she could barely see into the development room. The room became silent again. But this time, the intruder in the other room didn't try to hide their presence.
Try anything and I'll shoot. Hands on your head. Come out slowly.
Suzuha threatened the intruder in a low voice, but the intruder seemed completely unconcerned as they exposed themselves to Suzuha's gaze.
Must be pretty hot wearing that in this weather. Why not at least take off your helmet?
The intruder was wearing a motorcycle suit, just like before. Even the helmet was the same. The leather suit clung tight to their skin, revealing a voluptuous and perfectly proportioned body. It was clearly a woman.
What you're looking for isn't there. It's in my pocket.
Suzuha pointed toward the entrance of the shower room. The shirt she'd just taken off was lying there on the floor. The girl in the motorcycle suit turned her head, but because the face mask was down, Suzuha couldn't read her expression.
You should know better than to drop that. Something Mommy gave you. Right, Kagari?
The second she spoke, Kagari Shina was the first to move. She drew a deglossed military knife that she must have been hiding behind her back and closed the gap between her and Suzuha in an instant. Suzuha pointed the gun at her legs and pulled the trigger, carefully aiming away from her vitals. She heard the small pop of a suppressed 32 and saw Kagari lose her balance and fall. Or she thought she did, but it was a feint. She'd only pretended to lose her balance. In fact, she changed directions and was heading for the shower room. It seemed her first goal was to get what she'd come for.
Huh?
After firing only one shot, Suzuha realized, even a 32 should have more recoil than this. She fired again, but Kagari didn't flinch even for a moment.
A blank? How?
At some point, all the bullets in Suzuha's gun had been swapped with blanks. That instant's panic was all it took. Kagari reached out for the shirt on the floor in front of the shower room.
No way!
Suzuha gave up on firing and flung the gun at Kagari. There was a dull thud as the hard barrel slammed into her neck. Caught off balance, she staggered before she could grab the shirt.
Ah!
You could hear Kagari's voice for the first time from within the helmet. Suzuha jumped. She kicked the off-balance Kagari as hard as she could with her tone-muscled legs. There was no time to hold back. Kagari went flying all the way to the edge of the room. It had to have broken a few ribs. Suzuha jumped towards her to continue her attack. But with terrifying speed, Kagari leapt off the ground and charged Suzuha. There wasn't enough time to come to a full stop.
Ah!
Sharp blade swept by, mere centimeters from her exposed abdomen. If she'd pulled back even a few tenths of a second later, the knife would have fatally sliced open her gut.
You bitch!
The blood rushed to Suzuha's head. Kagari was serious. She was planning to kill her. There was no hesitation in her movements. Suzuha leapt back and searched for something she could use as a weapon. The other guns were probably no different. There was a good chance they'd all had their ammo swapped with blanks, too. It was even possible that all her self-defense knives had been taken, too. Which left... There were several knives carefully stored in the kitchen. Yuki had brought them over to use in teaching the other girls how to cook. But Kagari had evidently noticed them as well, and she was moving to keep Suzuha from reaching them.
Huh. Looks like you've had a lot of practice. It's hard to believe you're the same girl who spent all her time sobbing inside the time machine. I'm surprised.
Suzuha kept her distance from Kagari as she slowly moved along the wall. The competitive drive burned even brighter as she tried to come up with a way to overcome her disadvantage.
Here, Kagari. This is what you're after, right?
She picked up her shirt from in front of the shower room and took the green keychain out of its pockets.
What's wrong? Come get it.
Fingers moved as if to crush it. You could see Kagari twitch. For the first time, she could detect a hint of emotion beyond the helmet. And in an instant, she threw it at Kagari's stomach. The keychain flew in a slow arc like she was tossing it to a friend. If something they loved was thrown like that, even the fiercest warrior would instinctively reach out both hands to grab it. Kagari was no exception. She carefully held her mother's memento in both her empty left hand and the right hand that still clutched the knife. Using the slow arc of the keychain as camouflage, Suzuha ran at her in a straight line. Her right fist connected hard with Kagari's stomach. Then her left arm smashed Kagari's head to the side.
Ah!
Kagari's body fell to the ground, her right shoulder taking the brunt of the fall. Suzuha could hear the sound of her joint dislocating. The knife slipped from her grasp. Suzuha got behind her and mounted her, twisting her right arm mercilessly. At the same time, she slipped on her own left arm around Kagari's neck and squeezed hard. You could hear something like a moan from Kagari's throat. She could both hear and feel the bones in her arm and neck creaking.
Stay put. I'm not gonna kill you.
Kagari picked up the knife on the floor with her left hand and once again tried to use it on Suzuha. Suzuha was forced to squeeze her arm and neck even harder.
Stop it, Kagari! I understand how you feel now, but it's wrong! It's wrong!
But Kagari didn't stop. If anything, she tried even harder to pull Suzuha away.
What kind of training did she get?
Even in all the battles she'd been in, this much pressure on 2 different spots was enough to get even the toughest soldier to submit or fall unconscious. Terrified, Suzuha squeezed even harder. At this rate, she wouldn't simply knock her out. She really would kill Kagari. But if she stopped, Kagari would kill her. What should she do?
Suzuha, it hurts. It hurts.
Then she heard the sad, weak voice from inside the helmet. It startled her, and she relaxed both her arms. But that was just what Kagari had hoped for. The knife came very close to cutting Suzuha's left arm. When she let go to dodge it, Kagari shook her off and kicked at her hips with both legs. Suzuha was slammed back hard into the computer desk, and for a moment she couldn't breathe. She fell to the floor and the printer and monitor crashed mercilessly into her naked body. She forced herself to stand up, gasping hard as she did so. Kagari's breathing was heavy too. Her right arm was pointed in an impossible direction and hanging limp. She wouldn't be able to use it for a while, probably. But her left arm was still holding the knife.
You've learned some dirty tricks, haven't you?
Suzuha glared at Kagari's face, not that she could see what it looked like behind the helmet. The 2 of them fell silent as they tried to catch their breath. The tension in the air was so thick that it was difficult to move a muscle. Sweat rolled down her forehead and into her eyes, but she still didn't blink as she waited for Kagari to make her next move. It was the sound of the front door opening that broke their stalemate.
Hey, Suzuha, did I just hear a loud noise?
Suzuha felt a chill run down her spine when she heard Itaru's voice.
Huh? Why is it so dark?
No, Dad, stay back!
She yelled at the exact same instant he turned on the lights. The sudden brightness was enough to make Suzuha flinch for an instant. Kagari was wearing a full face helmet, and that made all the difference. She leapt towards Itaru just a moment before Suzuha. Kagari's black knife went up to his throat.
Dad!
Kagari spun around behind him, using Itaru's huge body as a shield. Suzuha staggered toward him, gritting her teeth.
Let go, Kagari! Lay one finger on Dad, and I don't care who you are, Kagari. I'll kill you.
But Kagari remained silent as she headed outside the door with her hostage. And then the next moment, she shoved him forward. Itaru lost his balance and fell towards Suzuha. Suzuha fell to the ground underneath his weight. Itaru just barely managed to support himself with his arms and legs to keep from crushing her.
Move!
Suzuha tried to shove him off, using a little more force than she may have intended. But Itaru was so huge it would take him a moment to get up.
That's why I told you to lose weight!
What?
He was getting away. She somehow managed to crawl out from under him and quickly tried to follow after Kagari.
Suzuha, wear this!
Itaru was still lying on the ground as he tossed the naked Suzuha her shirt. She grabbed it and quickly put it on, then ran outside. But when she looked around the street, the girl in the motorcycle leathers wasn't there. There was no way to even know where she'd gone.
She got away!
It'd be dangerous to run around trying to find her now. There was a chance Itaru would be attacked while she wasn't at the lab.
Was that Kagari-tan?
Itaru came outside as well.
Yeah, I'm almost certain.
I see.
That's how it's going to be with the 2 of us in the end.
Bruises and wounds were bad enough, but the pain that ached in her heart was the worst of all.
You know, I really did like her.
Yeah.
She was small but so brave. She always did her best to protect Big Sis Mayu. I taught her a lot. I thought of her as, like, a little sister.
Yeah.
But now, she's completely my enemy.
Utaru straightened up her shirt sleeves.
You know, you look like a slutty girl in an H game right now, Suzaha.
Huh? What?
Suzaha was caught completely off guard. True, her t-shirt only came down to just below her hips, roughly the length of a miniskirt. Her breasts were almost completely bared. Shirt's hem was turned up and she felt exposed.
Well, I don't mind H games with slutty girls, and I don't think the whole naked except for a t-shirt thing is all that bad.
Being silly again. You could have gotten badly hurt.
But Utaru shook his head.
Got freaked out by the knife, but I don't think I really needed to be that scared. Unless I'm mistaken.
Utaru rubbed the part of his neck where the knife blade was.
When she had the knife to my throat, I could hear it, just a little.
Hear what?
She was probably crying.
Huh?
Crying? Under that helmet? After that whole battle with Suzaha? While holding a knife to Itaru's neck? Why?
Don't you think it's too early to jump to conclusions?
Dad,
Hmm?
did you buy me that vanilla ice cream?
Yeah, of course.
I'd love to eat it. I'm a little tired.
And then she almost fell forward.
What?
Itaru managed to catch her before she hit the ground.
Hey Suzaha!
I'm fine, but let me rest a little.
That was all she had the energy to say. She closed her eyes in her dad's arms, and her consciousness melted away. When July came, the sun shone down even harder on eastern Japan. Summer was truly here. The news had been saying for days that the heat island effect might make this the hottest summer in years. And then, on the first Sunday in July, I met with Maho in Akihabara. I was waiting at the open cafe at the UPX when Maho arrived. She was a little late.
Okabe!
It's been a while. She ordered a nice coffee and took a deep breath. But you know, we talk to each other all the time on video chat.
That's right. It doesn't feel like it's been that long.
Her habit of paying no attention to her clothes or looks hadn't changed at all in the last 6 months. People were going to think that she was an elementary school kid who decided to go play at a friend's house. But it would upset her if I said that, so I never would. I had no idea you were here. If I hadn't happened to see Dr. Leskinen, I never would have found out.
I was going to contact you once things calmed down. We need to talk to each other about Kurisu at some point eventually.
You hear about the new encephalitis cases?
Dr. Leskinen is, at least. I'm his assistant, but I'm mostly in charge of Amadeus. Have there been any problems? I assume not, since I'm still getting my usual reports.
Yeah, nothing really. Lately it's been a struggle to deal with Kurisu, though.
Hey!
I heard a voice from my smartphone, which I'd placed on the table.
What do you mean by struggle?
I'd left the Amadeus app turned on. Of course, Kurisu could hear everything we said. She's gotten a little ruder since we first met.
You're just afraid of me for no reason is all.
Maybe. It was turning into our old relationship in the Alpha World line where we'd fought all the time. I was starting to lose track of whether that was a good or bad thing for me. I thought I was trying to forget about Kurisu. You were pretty rude when we first met.
That was... She's rough on people when she meets them for the first time. You know why?
Because they refuse to treat her like she's her real age. The two of them spoke in unison.
So I always get upset. Once I get to know someone, they stop talking about my appearance, right? So I can speak more normally around them is all.
Guess I was right not to comment on her outfit. That was a close call.
Anyway, back to Amadeus. It's an interesting sign that Kurisu is developing a bit of a sharp tongue. It's a side of her she never shows me or the professor, right? That may be a sign of how much she'd open up to you.
I have not. Maho simply smiled and ignored her.
We can analyze these psychological changes as code. This is a change we never would have seen if she'd only been speaking to me and the professor. That alone means we were right to keep you on as a tester.
Is that how it works?
Dr. Leskinen was very impressed by this too. I think you're giving him too much credit. In fact, whenever he talks to me, he's always complaining. He's not very manly, you know?
Well, I knew my personality had gotten a bit negative, especially given what I've been through. Did she really need to say that to Maho right now? An eye for an eye it is, then. By the way, there's something I hadn't told you yet.
What is it?
It's something I don't think you or Dr. Leskinen are aware of.
Wait, what are you going to tell her? Something Maho and the professor don't know about me?
Does the phrase Kurigohan and Kamehameha mean anything to you?
Hey!
A few weeks ago, I'd actually searched for Kurigohan and Kamehameha on a whim. It was the handle Kurisu had used on @channel when she was still alive. From what I'd seen, the comments started in summer of 2008 and abruptly stopped in July of 2010. And then started up again in December of that same year. Even now, in July 2011, they were still appearing. If it wasn't Kurisu's ghost and it wasn't an imposter, then the one who could be writing those posts was...
Intro Okabe, why don't we have a private chat?
So it was you after all. Don't you think it's a bad idea not to tell them?
It's an even worse idea to tell Maho.
Why?
Because I haven't breathed a word to her about me going on @channel.
Why hide it? It's not a crime to read her comments on @channel. Isn't that right, Channeler Kurisu?
Listen, call me that one more time and I'll start making up gossip about you on @channel.
That's practically a crime, though. I couldn't help but laugh. Conversations like this brought back so many memories. I used to be so full of myself that I'd tick off Kurisu all the time.
Hey, what are you guys talking about?
Nothing! Don't worry about it. Delete all your memories of today from your hippocampus, please. You can hide it, but she's going to find out eventually.
You just shut up. You two have gotten a lot closer over the last 6 months. Ah! Maho, I'm sorry. Huh? Why are you apologizing? No, just... It's been so long since you and Okabe have seen each other and I'm doing all the talking. So why don't you take some time and chat? That's not what I meant. It's all Okabe's fault for saying something weird, isn't it?
Is that true, Kurigohan and Kamehameha?
Ah! Please don't say that.
Just like that, just like the real Kurisu, she was strangely obsessed with hiding the fact that she was a @channeler.
I need to go cool off a little, so I'm gonna hang up. Bye.
Kurisu disappeared from the screen. Kurisu had been kind of rude lately, so it felt good to have a chance to get back at her. If I overdid it, she was probably going to hold a grudge, so this was likely a good place to stop.
What's Kurigohan?
If you really want to know, ask Kurisu. If I explained it, she'd probably get mad and refuse to talk to me again. So how long are you going to be staying here?
Might be longer than last time. We barely know anything about the new encephalitis Dr. Leskinen is researching. It's possible that I'll be sent back on my own, too.
If you got time, visit the lab. I'm sure Daru and Mayuri would love to see you.
Mayuri, sure, but I don't know about Hashida.
Ma was finally starting to understand Daru's true nature. Speaking of Daru, he should be on a date with Yuki Amane right now.
By the way, what happened to Kurisu's laptop?
I destroyed it. It was the best thing to do. I explained that to you before, didn't I?
Yeah, you're right.
She looked down, sad expression on her face. I told her I was going to do it ahead of time, but it still must have upset her to see one of the last things she had to remember Kurisu by destroyed. About half the seats at Go-Go Curry were full. It was Sunday, but it was also after 2 p.m., and so the lunchtime rush was over. Suzuha was sitting at the restaurant's far edge, a baseball cap pulled down over her face. She was hiding her face with the cap and carefully watching a couple sitting nearby.
Here you are, your Major Curry.
A cheerful employee put down 2 giant silver plates, or trays more accurately, in front of them. Suzuha could see the other customers looking at them and whispering. The couple really stood out, after all. The man was a giant who looked like he ate major curry all the time, but the woman was slim, pretty, and looked very kind. The combination of huge man and slim woman was as unbalanced as the combination of pretty girl and major curry. Major curry was big. It was huge. Suzuha knew from experience. The massive silver trays were loaded with rice and curry and topped with 2 fried cutlets, fried shrimp, sausage, a boiled egg, and a mountain of cabbage. There was 2 or 3 times as much curry as you'd find in a normal dish, and the toppings were just as big. Even a growing young boy would find it hard to eat them all. Suzuha was irritated.
Why are you ordering major curry on your first date with her, Dad?
The Beauty and the Beast couple that Suzuha was watching, of course, was Itaru and Yuki. In the morning, they'd gone to see a movie in Yorakucho, then they'd come to Akihabara and gone straight to Gogo Curry. Suzuha had followed them the whole time. That's why she couldn't believe Itaru's choice of date spots.
I don't mind Gogo Curry at all. In fact, I like it, but it's your first date. There are other places you could have gone.
Clutched her spoon tight and gritted her teeth. Suzuha knew next to nothing about Japanese youth culture in 2011, and even she knew it was a bad idea. Who knew what was going through Yuki's mind? Or so Suzuha thought. But
wow, it's even more amazing than the pictures.
surprisingly, Yuki was ignoring the people around her and innocently enjoying the huge curry.
Manashi, if you can't eat it all, I'll finish it for you, okay?
Okay, thank you. I'm actually pretty good at this.
Yeah? That's a surprise.
I actually always just come and take a look at the menu outside. I always wanted to try this. I'm glad you brought me here.
I'm glad to hear that.
Suzuha had evidently worried over nothing, but still she realized that Itaru was acting strangely. Ever since he'd come out of the movie theater, he was walking and talking strangely. Instead of his usual hunched posture, he was forcing himself to stand up straight. His every movement seemed oddly forced, as if he were a broken robot. And he downed glass after glass of water.
I'm sorry, may I have some more water too?
Huh? Oh, sure.
Thank you.
Itaru poured water into Yuki's cup. Suzuha had a bad feeling. She was right. Itaru was moving so awkwardly that he almost spilled water on her hand.
Yeah.
Are you okay?
My hand just got a little wet. Anyways, let's eat before it gets cold, okay?
Yuki quickly wiped down the table with her handkerchief and grabbed her fork and spoon. There were stars in her eyes.
Okay, let's eat.
Let's eat.
Yuki seemed to be really enjoying her meal, but Itaru was very formal and quiet. He was taking little nibbles out of a piece of fried cutlet like a squirrel eating a nut. The whole time, they weren't saying a word.
What are you doing, Dad? Mom's not gonna want to be around you if you're like that.
She decided to send him a message on Ryan telling him to get his act together, and she'd just taken her phone out when...
Here's your magic curry with extra roux.
A huge plate was laid on the table in front of her. The other customers started murmuring again. Come to think of it, when she'd followed them into the store, she'd ordered her usual major curry with extra roux, and then forgotten about it. Now everybody was going to focus on her. In a small shop like this, it was suicide.
Huh?
Just as she'd expected, her eyes met Yuki's.
Suzuha, I didn't realize you were here. Oh, yeah, what a coincidence seeing you here, Yuki, brother. You should have said something. No, I didn't even notice you, really.
She realized that she should probably leave, but she couldn't go without at least taking a bite out of the major curry in front of her. Her experiences in the war had left her completely unable to waste food. She felt Yuki and Itaru staring at her as she reluctantly picked up her spoon.
Anyway, yeah, you two enjoy yourselves.
Her only choice was to finish her extra large curry as soon as possible. She couldn't let herself be in the way. Instead, Yuki came over and picked up Suzuha's plate.
Huh? Excuse me, can my friend sit with us?
Sure, go ahead.
He said it's okay, let's all eat together. Wait, why? Why? Because you ordered major curry too. I think we need to have a race. Huh? Ashita can be the judge.
And before Suzuha could respond, Yuki had moved her plate over to their table.
No, wait.
He had no choice but to follow, but before she sat down, she whispered into Yuki's ear.
You're on a date, right? Huh? Oh yeah, I'm on a date. Makes me blush whenever I say it out loud, heh.
Yutaro didn't react at all, even though she was sure he'd overheard that.
I've never been on a date, so I don't know how they work, but... Is it normal to have a curry speed eating contest with another girl in the middle of a date? I don't really know. You see it a lot in anime and manga, don't you? Little sister who doesn't want to lose her big brother runs up to the girlfriend and says, "Let's have a competition!"
For some reason, Yuki seemed incredibly enthused. Suzuha was overwhelmed by her energy.
I don't know anything about that. Is that how it works, brother?
But even when she turned to Yutaro for help, he just awkwardly sat there eating his curry like a robot.
Brother?
He awkwardly turned his head to face her. The rest of him stayed completely still.
Did you say something?
What's wrong? You're acting weird.
I'm not acting weird. I'm not acting weird at all.
Suzuha glanced back at Yuki. And for the first time, Yuki looked concerned. And I think there's a pretty good place to cut it. I am enjoying where this is going, but I am confused about the direction. I honestly don't know, what's gonna happen next. I mean, I suppose that's pretty obvious, but at the same time, it seems like the plot's not going in any particular direction at the moment. It's not going super bad or super good. I don't know. I'm interested to see where it goes, because I can't really tell. But for now, thank you all so much for following my playthrough of Steins Gate Zero, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye now!